Hi kids, we now have a working TC36 power crane. Do you believe me? Well, I got this off the curb last month, and this little device was jammed forward like here. And you can see there's a little track. I think this is called a rack and pinion. And there's a little motor that runs a spoked wheel, a gear, and it runs across that, and that moves that back linearly. And then there's the string that has a hook on it, and that goes up and down. And there's even an elevator. You see the elevator at the top? And then the whole thing swings around just like a real power crane. You know, they use these things in construction, and maybe you would hang concrete off that hook at the bottom. And then you'd pick it up off the truck on the ground, and then you'd raise it high in the air, and then lower it down onto the building, and maybe pour a floor or something like that, or a wall or something like that, as you build a huge building. Now this comes with a remote control system from 1978, I think, was when this was built. So they didn't have wireless back then, just wires. That's what we had in the old days. We used wires and we liked it. Nowadays everything's wireless, but this one's pretty cool, pretty easy to get working. So first of all, what I had to do was I don't have 3 type D batteries, the big kind. But if you take each one of the batteries are 1.5 volts. So if you take 3 of them, what's 3 times 1.5? It's 4.5 volts. So what I did was I took this variable voltage device and I set it with a screwdriver. I set it at, can you see what that says? The arrow is pointing at 4.5 volts. Okay, so that goes, the wire from that device that plugs in, see the little green lights on? That goes up by this braided red and white wire, and white is ground and red is positive, and I have this clipped on. So now we can actually run this thing. So first of all, we're going to use the leftmost with it facing towards me like this with the wire coming out. And guess what that's going to do? Isn't that cool? So first, we go down to the ground and we pick up a load of steel girders or maybe a concrete. And then we raise that up. And then we put this at the right place, and we lower it onto the building that we're building. And then maybe that's on a floor, and we pour the concrete or take off the steel girders. And look at what this one does. The third one, what do you suppose that's going to do? See what's happening? The elevator's going down. That is so cool. So the workers might be done with their day and they're going back to their families. Oh, it's so complicated being a human being. You have to practice when you're young. You have to master technology. And then in the morning, you can go up. And then what do you suppose the 4th one is going to do? It's so cool. The whole thing swings around. Isn't that cool? That's why they use these cranes. They have, 3 degrees of freedom. Of course, they can come back. Look at the blinky lights. This is a masterpiece. A masterpiece of the designers and a masterpiece for the imagination. So anyway, I'm sure we'll have many opportunities to take things apart. I've had many screws out of this thing. You would not believe how hard it was to find where the batteries go. They are not in here. This is just a complicated switching device. with a wire coming out of it. So the power does come into this box, but the batteries aren't in here like I thought at first. Anyway, now it works, and I hope we will have hours and hours of make-believe fun with our TC36 power crane, made 1978. That was the same year your dad was born. That's amazing, 40 years ago. Bye-bye.